When you talk about a Kamaru Usman,
Yep, that's me.
you might not like Kamaru. You might not like whatever it is you don't like about him, but you cannot deny that he's the greatest welterweight of all time.
What?
You're not just wrong, you're stupid.
You can't deny it. You can't deny it.
You can't deny it. You can't deny. I can and I bloody will, mate.
Guys, am I the only one that thinks that GSP is becoming more and more underrated by the day? Like, just a few years ago, everyone had him as either the GOAT of the sport or at least second, right? Now people don't even deem him the GOAT of welterweight, bro. Come on, man. Look, bro, with all due respect, and I truly mean that because, you know, Usman is one of the greatest welterweights of all time, for sure. He is not close to being the welterweight GOAT. And what do I mean by that? Because yeah, for sure, Usman is the second greatest welterweight of all time. But you guys might be thinking like, okay, what do you mean? You just said he's not close to being the GOAT, and now you're saying he's the second greatest. Yes, he's the second greatest, but he's nowhere near that number one position that GSP holds, in my opinion anyway. Because for me, it matters more about, you know, the competition of people that he's beaten and lost to, and comparing that with the likes of GSP. For example, let's just take a look at his title run real quickly. The person he won the title against, it was an amazing performance against Tyron Woodley, but if we look at Tyron Woodley's career after he lost to Kamaru Usman, he then lost 3 in a row after that. Yeah, man, that is not looking good, bro. Then we can look at his first and fifth title defense against Colby Covington. Right, now to be fair, at the time, Colby Covington was definitely a deserving contender of the title, but if we look at, you know, his run after losing to Kamaru Usman the first time, he won against Woodley, which, you know, like we just said, it wasn't really that good of a win because that was basically the beginning of his losing streak. Then lost to Kamaru again. Then had a UD over Jorge Masvidal, which is, okay, fair enough, that's a decent win. And then he's just lost twice against Edwards and Joaquin Buckley, and he got butchered by Joaquin Buckley. So yeah, man, again, this is one of his wins that hasn't aged terribly, but you know, it hasn't exactly aged well, has it? Then we can take a look at his second and fourth title defense. This is how you know that I'm not biased because, you know, I will be the first to admit that 2 title defenses against Jorge Masvidal isn't exactly the best feat. He is my favorite fighter of all time, but I must say, this wasn't exactly amazing. You know, as we know, with Jorge Masvidal, after, you know, losing to Kamaru Usman, he lost to Burns, he lost to Covington, and then he retired. So basically, this was a win that, you know, he was an old Mazvidal pretty much. And, you know, it wasn't exactly... Obviously, you know, he was a very, you know, big character within the UFC. And that's basically the reason he got the title shot the second time. But yeah, man, this win, even though he is my favorite fighter of all time, and I do not like to say this, this is not exactly a very good win. And his other title win was against Gilbert Burns, who, to be fair, in retrospect, was probably Usman's best title win. Maybe you can debate that between this win and Colby Covington the first time, but even though he is Usman's best win, he still went on a long... He's on a long losing streak right now. He's on a 4-fight losing streak, and, you know, in his last, 9 fights, he's about 3-6 or something like that. So yeah, man, that is just... You know, this win did age pretty well in terms of, you know, he did win against Thompson and Magny and Masvidal, and, you know, a very close fight with Chimaev, but then his last 4 fights haven't really been amazing, have they? So just in case you lost count there, Usman's title opponents have a combined record of 5-18 since fighting Usman, including those losses to Usman as well. And even the man that Usman lost the belt to, Leon Edwards, that loss has aged terribly as well, because, you know, Leon, since beating Usman in the second fight, he had 2 defenses. One was against Kamaru in the trilogy, and then one was against Kobe. And then after that, he's on a 2-fight losing streak now, including a loss to Bilal Muhammad, and then he got submitted by Sean Brady. And let me remind you guys, Leon comfortably beat Usman in that 3rd fight. And I know there's going to be people saying, oh, well, actually, you know, it doesn't matter because Usman beat Leon back in the day. You and I both know that Leon's win in the trilogy fight holds so much more weight than Usman's win in the first fight back in bloody 2015. But to be fair, you do have to give credit where credit is due. Usman's win over Buckley in that fight night a few months ago was an amazing win. That is probably, I'm not even joking, that is probably Usman's best career win, in my opinion. You guys might call me crazy. I think this is his best win of his career, because Buckley, he was on a I think 6-fight win streak, and he was undefeated at welterweight. He was on a tear, and a lot of people thought, Buckley was going to win. Usman's been off for so long. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. And then, Usman did kind of butcher him in that fight. Easy, UD for Kamaru Usman in that fight. And I do think this win definitely does a lot for Kamaru Usman's resume. I just hope for his sake that, this fight does age well. But look, man, it would certainly be unfair to look at one and not look at the other. Let's look at GSP's career, right? Technically, if you look at his career, he kind of had a similar issue to Kamaru Usman, where a lot of his wins did not age amazingly. But, he did have a couple wins that did age really well. For example, his win over John Fitch and Jake Shields, those 2 wins did age pretty well because they went on to win a lot after their losses to GSP. But the main thing that we need to acknowledge in regards to GSP's wins is that the guys he was beating were on massive win streaks. Yeah, you can look at Sean Shirk, Matt Hughes in that second fight, Josh Koscheck both times, John Fitch, Thiago Alves, Jake Shields, Carlos Condit. I don't know if you want to, count Johnny Hendricks, but you can count that. And even though people don't give him credit for it, Michael Bisping as well. Michael Bisping was on a decent win streak. But yeah, all those guys I just mentioned, they were all on very long win streaks when GSP beat them, basically. So even though you can say the same about Kamaru Usman, GSP just has such a higher quantity of title wins compared to Kamaru Usman. You guys need to remember, yeah, you can't blame GSP because he was beating the best at the time. And not only was he beating, he was butchering them. He was taking them all to unanimous decisions. His only kind of controversial one was against Johnny Hendricks, and to be fair, Johnny Hendricks did win that fight, but he was on steroids. So also, in terms of losses, GSP's only 2 losses came fairly early in his career, and he avenged both of them in spectacular fashion, which is something that, I'm sorry to say, we can't say it about Usman. Usman, he lost to Leon and then he lost to him again. And if we're being real, in my opinion anyway, GSP is not losing to Leon Edwards, let alone twice in a row. Come on, man. GSP would take Leon Edwards easily to a 49-46 type decision. And you guys want to talk about skill, let's talk about skill. Undoubtedly, GSP is one of the most well-rounded fighters of all time, right? Before Merab Dvalishvili took the record, GSP held the record for the most takedowns landed in a career, 90 takedowns. You guys know his takedown game. It was very, very solid. And then in terms of striking as well, just watch this video by MMA On Point, the 10 most unhittable fighters in UFC history. Who's number 1? The boy GSP. Man, look, for a fighter that had most of his, career wins in title fights, so he's only fighting the best, he has the best stats as a striker, bro. That's insane, man. You guys can't deny GSP, in my opinion anyway, GSP was more well-rounded, was a better, more skilled, and probably would have beaten Kamaru Usman. So there it is, man. That's basically why GSP brutally mogs Kamaru Usman in the welterweight GOAT debate for now. Anyway, obviously Kamaru Usman is an active UFC fighter. If he can rack up a few more really good wins, this conversation can be had. But for now, Dana White, Lucas Tracy, give my boy the respect he deserves. He is definitely the GOAT of welterweight. And he may be the GOAT of the sport, bro. I think what else could he have done in his career to to cement himself as the GOAT, bro? Anyway, that's about it. You guys let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts. I'm probably going to get a lot of Kamaru Usman glazes in the comments, but that's fine. Please do comment, like, share, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you guys next time. Safe.